Orleans Saints podcast, presented by Rouse's Markets. You'll hear from players, coaches, broadcasters, and writers that cover the NFL daily. The New Orleans Saints podcast starts right now. Here are your hosts, Erin Summers and Todd Graffanini.
Welcome into the New Orleans Saints podcast presented by Rouse's Markets. Erin Summers here with our special guest for the entire week, former Saints quarterback Luke McCown. He's here. He has attended practices, given us his insight on everything that he has seen from a distance and then now here in person. Luke, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Glad to be here. Excited to be around the black and gold for a couple of days.
Does it feel different with the new coaching staff, a few new faces in the building?
Yeah, it definitely feels different. You know what's great about New Orleans, about the black and gold, about the Saints is that there's always this vibe. You know, and I was fortunate enough or unfortunate enough to be on several different teams throughout my career, and so you can step in a building and understand who is. You can feel it pretty quickly. Who is, you know, Sean used to call them, you know, those that are just there to sell tickets and hope, and those that are actual contenders. And I realize that we've got a young team, a young head coach, all the things that are going on. But this is a team that feels like it doesn't matter how young we are. It doesn't matter how young our coach is or whatever. All the different narratives that are out there, we feel like we can win. And you know that's half the battle, is the space between your ears and really believing that you know what you're doing in practice, what you've done in the draft, what you've done in the off season, what you've done through training camp to this point is going to give you an opportunity to win.
We've had 2 preseason games now, and we haven't seen the projected starters all take the field.
Sure.
A couple question marks as to who some of the projected starters are going to be at various positions. But how much can you glean from what we've been able to see on the field so far? Yeah,
a lot. I mean, I really think that you know, I don't have a crystal ball, and I don't have a special pass into Kellen Moore's brain and about, you know, decisions regarding starters. But I think that you can watch, you know, with some level of understanding of the people that are competent in the positions that they're in. And that's not a knock on, you know, there's just a difference between guys that have been there, veteran players, and you know, let's talk about quarterbacks specifically. There's a difference. You feel it right now with Spencer Rattler and Tyler Shuck. And Tyler is extremely gifted. He's a big body. He's athletic. He's talented in his right arm. But as you just watch those two command the huddle, walk to the line of scrimmage, how they handle things there's a difference. And the difference may only be that there were 7 games last year that Spencer played, and Tyler hasn't had that yet. But you can feel that. That's a tangible thing. And then as an offense, as a team, the offensive line can feel that, the receivers can feel that, and they will play off of that. And so whether we're going to get there or not, you know, if you were to ask me, and again, I don't have a crystal ball, I would say that Spencer's got a leg up on this. He approaches the offense, the structure of it. He approaches it like a veteran player should, with confidence. You know, a guy that's you know, got a little bit of moxie to him. And I think that separates him certainly at this moment from where Tyler is at this moment. There's one more preseason game to go, and then they're going to jump into prepping for the Arizona Cardinals. So there's not a whole lot of time left to get that figured out. And so in this last week of practice, in this last game, you really want to see one or both of these guys really grab the bull by the horns, as it were, and you know, put their best foot forward.
Coach Moore said after practice today he's not naming a starter. I don't think anybody anticipated that to be the case. Other teams have made announcements
right.
in regards to their game one starters where there's been competitions, but he said it's so close between Shuck and Rattler. It was close going into the game on Sunday. It came out still close. There's been moments, I think, that both have shown flashes of what they can do, and then both have had mistakes or moments that they would want to get back. But Rattler has been thrown into the fire. You know, he's played in regular season games. So you kind of do take that into consideration as well. And Coach Moore said everything is being taken into consideration all the way back to the beginning of OTAs and every rep that they've ever taken. So is it fair to Shuck that he hasn't had that opportunity yet? You don't know. But if he's not, as you said, grabbing the bull by the horns and showing you that he deserves to be the guy,
right,
hands down, then you might lean towards somebody that's been in those experiences before.
Yeah, and the team absolutely plays a factor in this decision. Who do the guys respond to? Coaches, would at times say through my career, hey, the team is going to let us know who wins the competition, right? And sometimes that's the deciding factor. Like, how do the receiver room talk about which quarterback, or how does the O-line respond in the huddle to a play call or a situation? I think that was, and not to be a prisoner of the moment necessarily, but I think that was a little bit of this last preseason game where there was the turnover right there on the 12-yard line or whatever it was, and then come right back. Defense does a great job stopping. You come right back and have a crucial drive at the end of the game, score, and then a 2-point play, and you just felt like this galvanizing moment. And maybe that was it. Maybe we don't see much for the rest of the preseason, but they'll reflect on that one situation and go, well, there was the difference. And so, the team will usually gravitate towards the guy that they want to play. They don't have to say it. You can see it in their body language. You can read it in their enthusiasms for the moment, and then how they elevate at a certain moment in the game, how they elevate their own play based on who is, who's taking the snaps. So. Again, I think Tyler is extremely gifted.
Yeah.
I think there's a reason. A lot was made about being drafted number 40 and where and all that other stuff. I think, when you watch him at practice, when you watch him in the games, there's a reason why he was drafted where he was. And he's going to have a bright future.
Yeah, he has been somebody that's continuing to improve. And you mentioned the way that they command the huddle and take the field. And I think his confidence is building each day that he's out. He said it himself that from when he first started here at training camp, you can see a difference in the way he's carrying himself, the risks that he's taking on the field, the shots he's trying to take. So it's interesting. Different points during training camp, I was like, okay, Spencer started ahead for sure.
Right.
Then it seems like he maybe hit a plateau and Tyler was starting to climb. And now I feel like they're both kind of even again. So,
and that's what you want. You want competition to make the two guys better.
Yeah.
Like, that's a very, very good thing. And the old adage, if you have two quarterbacks, you don't have any quarterbacks, that whole thing. But man, like, compete and go get it, and let's see if you can learn from the mistakes. And that's the other thing is you watch both of these guys make errors, and I tweeted out the other day, just yesterday, about the interception wasn't all on Spencer and kind of the nuance to that play in and of itself, but you watched both of them go through those instances where they had a turnover and they bounced right back.
Yeah.
And so seeing that growth, but you brought up just being confident from the standpoint of Tyler pushing the ball down the field a little bit more. You saw it in the first half of this game where he makes a deep cross throw to the tight end where the linebackers got underneath coverage. It's a really contested throw, And that's a big time decision to make. You don't make that throw if you're not growing in confidence. As a player, as a quarterback, you don't recognize, the linebacker has his head turned to me. He can't see the ball. I'm gonna place it right past his head, right over his, right past his ears. And so you don't make those types of throws or those types of decisions if you aren't growing in confidence a little bit. So you've definitely seen flashes. You've seen the things that, as an evaluator, you would want to see, from the upstairs and evaluating their draft pick, because you can project all you want with your draft picks, and people like Mel Kiper will give you grades on your draft or whatever. I think he gave us a B or a B- or something like that, but you won't know, and you can feel good about it through the spring and through the summer, through OTAs, but you won't know until you get into game situations. And so I really feel like Mickey and the guys have to be extremely happy with where their draft picks are playing right now. They're on the defensive side of the ball. We drafted a D lineman, a safety, a linebacker, and a corner.
Yeah.
And 4 guys that they feel like they can build with in this new defensive scheme that they've got with Brandon Staley.
Yeah. The defense, obviously, they've had their moments as well. Jonas Sanker with the big-time interception in the last game. We've seen good things from Quincy Riley, the cornerback, and a lot of the other players around him have spoken highly about him. So I do feel like from top to bottom, the rookies have been making a name for themselves. Yeah. And I think you can say this could be one of their better drafts in a while if things pan out the way that you think that they might.
Absolutely. And again, when you turn this tape on, and you can't feel it in the game. When you get on ground level around these guys, that defense is huge. The front 7, there are big bodies flying everywhere. And with what Brandon Staley is going to do defensively, and I can tell you from the quarterback standpoint, the 3-4 and the way that he runs it is very confusing. It's difficult in protection management at the line, finding out the mic, declaring who is a rusher, who's a down lineman, how do we handle this pickup, and they fly around. They fly around. I think, bold prediction, I think Chase Young's going to have a huge year.
Yeah.
I think in this defense, I think you're going to see all of that number 1 pick potential that he's had for all these years. I think you're going to see it come to fruition this year in this system. I think it fits him. I think you're going to see his talent in a major way on display probably early in this season.
We saw it against the Rams in the joint practice. It was the first time the starters were there together against somebody else because they haven't played in any of the preseason games. But that defensive front in general, I mean, Chase Young was in the backfield almost every play, whether it was batting passes down at the line or getting pressure, getting what would be a sack. He was all over the place. Devon Gottschalk said he's playing at an all-world level, which is huge praise from somebody like Gottschalk, who's played 9 years and been one of the best at his position. I am so excited for people to see him in action because you couldn't create a more perfect person for a 3-4 defense than him there at the nose. So he's going to be a huge upgrade for this defense as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then to get a running start, in the way that the 3-4 is configured with stand-up rushers, outside linebackers, we call them outside linebackers, but they're stand-up rushers. Right. Depending on the defensive call. But for all intents and purposes, they're stand-up rushers. And they get to have a running start into their pass rush. When you get a 6'6", 290 guy that moves the way that he does, long arms and the whole works, there's a reason why he was the number 1 pick, right? But when you get him with a running start into his rush, I'm glad I'm retired.
Yeah. It is going to be fun once we can see it all come together. When you move back into the secondary with Tyrann Mathieu retiring, that was maybe took some people by surprise, but you'd already picked up Justin Reed, and then you were able to go out and get Julian Blackman, who seems like he's fit in extremely well. So I don't think that there's going to be a drop off in that position right now.
Absolutely.
The cornerbacks look great. Kool-Aid McKinstry looks phenomenal. Lante Taylor dealing with an injury right now, but I think he's another person that's going to be perfect for this defensive scheme. I'm excited to see when all the starters are on the field together.
Yeah, and so I was just talking to Mickey about this. One of the things about every defense talks about turnovers, right? Mm-hmm. How do we get turnovers? How do we create turnovers? Turnovers don't happen by luck. You create them through confusion. You create them through chaos around the quarterback's feet or in his face. You create them by being physical at the line of scrimmage. But I think we've got 4 interceptions this preseason. 3, I know for sure. And that it becomes a habit. It becomes something that you expect. I've been on teams where we struggle to get turnovers, defensively. And it becomes something that you have to learn to do. You have to learn how to be. It's silly to say. You got to learn how to be in the right spot at the right time. You got to create your own luck, so to speak. And so to have 3 interceptions in 2 preseason games, you kind of get this sense that these guys expect to get the ball back once, twice, 3 times a game. And routinely, once you get to the end of the season, if you look up and see the teams with the best records, they tend to be in the top third of the league in takeaways. And so I'm excited to see what this Brandon Staley defense is going to do because they've got all the pieces.
We touched on the quarterbacks, but going back to the offensive side of the ball, I think a lot of the success is going to start with the ability to establish a run game, which has been tough through the first 2 games. We haven't, again, had everybody starting on the offensive line. Eric McCoy hasn't played in a preseason game. Trevor Penning dealt with an early injury. So it might not be the best gauge. Obviously, Alvin Kamara hasn't played either. But you are trying to figure out your depth at that running back position. How big of a question mark is that in general for you right now?
Yeah, it's a huge question mark for lots of different reasons, right? Alvin's in year 9, going into year 9, but he's as healthy as he's ever been, and he's got plenty of life left in his legs. He's still a fantastic route runner. He's a matchup nightmare, a guy that you want to get the ball to 20 times a game, one way or the other. But you've got to take hits off of his body. So who's going to be the other one to carry that load? Is it Cam Akers? Is it Kendra Miller? Is it Clyde Edwards-Helaire? There's certainly a battle going on in the running back room for the opportunity to carry the ball. And so I don't always know that the preseason is the best way. I think they're finding those things out through reps in practice, because the preseason can be very vanilla. And you play with so many different combinations of your front 5 offensive linemen. We had in the first game Simpkins, the third, right, come in and pretty much play the whole game at center, and so that's something that I don't think they expect to happen in the regular season. Hopefully, and so the running backs and the offensive line work in tandem. They get a feel for running backs get a feel for how this double team works and the timing of when to make this jump cut or hit the hole this way or whatever, and so you get a lot more of those opportunities in practice. You don't really get them in the preseason. I don't think there's reason to be concerned about the running game from what you see on Saturdays or Sundays in a preseason game. They're going to figure that out through these next couple of practices and then heading into the Arizona week. If you watch the 2 games, the Rams and the Jaguars defensive line did a lot of stunting and a lot of stuff that's not kosher for preseason games. Usually it's one-on-one blocks and you kind of getting a feel for it. And so the offensive line again has to work as a team. Those 5 guys, in order to handle stunts in the run game, in order to handle different passing off blocks and all this other stuff, you've got to be all five together for a considerable amount of time to learn how the guy to my right or the guy to my left steps to block this and how we come off this together, right? And the running backs have to feed off of that as well. As they, one of the hardest things to do in playing football is read as you run. And that's what running backs have to do. They have to read holes and read linebacker movements as they run and read how this guard is coming. This guard and center are double teaming up to the mic or whatever it is. And so all that will sort itself out in the next couple of practices. But I think we're going to be in good shape in that area.
I was just talking to Kelvin Banks in the locker room, and I asked him, how difficult is it to have somebody different next to you when you've been working with Trevor Penning, and now you have Dylan Radins, and possibly Taurus Ellie-Simpkins might get moved into there in some rotations as well now that they have signed Luke Fortner, who is a true center. I think he's going to get some reps there, and they're going to move some people around a little bit. And he said it's not a problem for him because the way that they've been teaching stuff here, they're so adamant about your technique and your assignment. Coach Moore calls them your rules. These are your rules, and as long as you follow them in whatever the situation is, if this happens and you do this, you're going to be okay. And it was interesting to me because I've always heard so much about the continuity that you have to have on the O-line. But for him to say it's not been a problem for him, he doesn't seem like a rookie out there. He has done extremely well in his playing time, and I don't think he's let up a sack, a pressure, anything in these first two games.
Yeah, they consensus is they hit a home run when they drafted that guy.
Yeah.
He's going to be a stalwart at that left side for a long time.
Yeah,
a long time.
That helps solidify that O-line because you didn't know exactly what you had at the ends.
Right.
And moving Taliesin Fuaga back to the right side. And, it's great to have those two anchors on either side, and both of them being so young, but really seem like they were great draft picks there. Going into the rest of the week, we're going to have another practice tomorrow. Said that's going to be a lot more of the scripted stuff that they want to work through, and then some call-it periods, which is always fun. And then Thursday, they'll have a little bit earlier practice, a walkthrough on Friday, and the game on Saturday. How much do you want to see some of these players like Chase Young, Alvin Kamara, Justin Reed take the field?
Yeah, so it's not so much about how they play or how much they play necessarily. It's about the routine. At this point, it's about the routine. They're into kind of an in-season schedule mode, right? At this point in training camp, their meeting schedule, their lifting schedule, the practice schedule is going to mimic what they're going to do for Arizona in a week. So it's more about the routine of kind of get your bodies acclimated to when it needs to work, when it needs to focus meeting style, when it, workouts, whatever it is, how it's going to get itself ready, ramping up to a normal Sunday 1 o'clock kickoff. So it's not as much, there won't be as much emphasis, I don't think, put on what happens in the game for several players. There will be for some, but for several players, I don't think Chase Young is one of those. But it'll be more about get into your routine, get into your film watching. Here's when I watch film, here's when I cold tub, here's when I hot tub, here's when I get my masseuse, and here's to get my body work done, all the different things. Just prepping for the normal routine of a season that's about to kick off and go 17 weeks and hopefully longer. Yeah,
that's fair because we have seen everyone dress before the game and go through their usual warm-up. And so first preseason game, everyone's like, oh my gosh, everyone's playing. And you're like, no, they're just going through their routine. Then they're going to go put their sweats on and hang out on the sideline for the game. Right. So we have seen a little bit of that happening already. But there's going to be so much that we can break down throughout the rest of the week. And I'm excited that you're here, especially since the quarterbacks are such a hot topic right now. You are one of the best to talk to about that. And we'll be able to really break down tomorrow's practice because the media will be able to be there the whole time. you always have special access. So I'm not going to be mad at you about it.
I hope not.
You've achieved a little bit more than I have in this sport.
Just
and
a little.
Yeah.
Hold the clipboard, but that's about it.
No, not at all. But I always appreciate you joining us, and looking forward to having you here for the rest of the week.
Can't wait. Always fun.
Thank you. It's been the New Orleans Saints podcast presented by Rouse's Markets, and we'll be back with you again after practice tomorrow.
Thanks for listening to the New Orleans Saints podcast presented by Rouse's Markets. Join us 3 times per week on NewOrleansSaints.com, the Saints mobile app, or you can download the podcast on iTunes. We'll see you next time, right here on the New Orleans Saints podcast, presented by Rouse's Markets.